Welcome. Thanks for joining us for December. We're actually in a different place here today. We are actually at the hometown gathering, right? With Velocity Title.
Omelets, waffles,
That's
mimosas were available, but we're professionals, so we didn't partake in any of
No,
that.
actually,
Coffee
I
only.
didn't. Yeah, coffee only. Yeah, I behaved.
If it was an IPA, you would have.
No, not during the day. I've been good this year. Actually, I've been pretty good. And then I've gotten a lot of like the wife's compliments on the she picked this shirt. Oh, nice shirt. That's because the wife picked it. Like if it was mine, I wouldn't have got any of it.
Festive. Mine's kind of underneath the sweater, but yeah, we're festive.
Like I told you, it's like you only have like a 2-week window to wear colors like this before you get made fun of. Like if I wore this in July,
I'm a Christmas sock guy and Christmas tie guy. Love it.
I do have a pair of Mickey Mouse Christmas socks my kids got me. So
That's great.
the kids got it for you. You got it.
Yeah. Very good.
So today we're gonna skip dad joke and we're gonna do something a little bit different. It's gonna be just as much fun though. So today we're gonna do your number one favorite Christmas song.
Oh.
Yeah. And I will go first, which will give you a couple of seconds to kind of just
You
gather it
could
in.
go first. We didn't plan this. If you steal mine, I'm going to be very bitter.
My favorite, and this is a weird one, Melikilikimaka by Bing Crosby.
Billy.
But it's gotta be the Bing Crosby one.
So, okay.
Can't be the Jimmy Buffett one. Jimmy Buffett
No.
one's not good, but gotta be Bing.
There's a fine line of delineation. My favorite
ahead.
Christmas song is Melikilikimaka.
What?
But
Not planned.
unique. My favorite version is Seth MacFarlane, the Family Guy creator. He
What?
has a Christmas album. His Melikilikimaka is awesome. It's
Okay.
fantastic.
Listen
But the Bing
to it.
Crosby is the classic.
Okay. All
We
right.
did not plan this. And as soon as you started to talk, I go, if he says Melikilikimaka, I don't know what's going to
But
happen.
it's Bing. I like Bing. He's a good guy.
Classic.
All right. So you're the viewer. Which version is the best version? Comment here below. Tell us which version is the best. We'll see who
Look mine
gets
up
it.
on Spotify.
Yeah.
Telling you it's good.
All right. We'll see
Seth
who's the best
MacFarlane.
one. We'll see who wins. Now we're going to hop right into it. December represents the end of the year. I know there's been the summaries of how the year's gone, and there's a lot of data put out, and there's a lot of reflection put out, and there's a lot of predictions for next year. We're going to skip the prediction part. We'll do that in January.
Yeah.
That works for you?
Sure.
I don't want to do all that stuff yet. I want to collect more information, but I've done a lot of reading and so forth on what this past year has been.
Mhm.
And we're just going to be honest. We'll be frank. Like it was a little bit rougher for buyers. I think the criteria is a little bit tougher. Inventory was low. Things we've been talking about. We had 4.7 million houses sold in America, which is the lowest we've seen in over 15 years.
Mhm.
And so we've had to help our people plan, and we've had to help our people be strong buyers because you have to be ready. So my question for you is going to be, what are some of the things that you do to prep these folks? They might be a little bit different than what some of the other realtors or lenders do.
So I kind of look at a 12-month period as multiple seasons, so to speak.
Mhm.
We've talked previously on several different videos about peaks of inventory and things of that
Yeah.
sort. Those kind of repeat themselves for the most part. January is always the resolution buyers.
Yeah.
So we're early December, mid-December at this point. I'm just waiting for that January 1st time frame to come. The phone just starts to ring off the hook. People go, it's 2025. I'm ready to buy a house.
Yeah.
I look back at sort of the span of leads that I got this year. It was so front loaded early in the year. And then as the year progressed, some of those people ended up buying houses, but they didn't end up buying until the fall.
Yeah.
But people stopped inquiring about it. I don't know if they got discouraged or they found out that rates really weren't going anywhere. They were kind of going to stay elevated.
Yeah.
There's probably several different factors. But when you talk about preparing people, that was the question.
Yes.
Of course, we can do that any time of year. But if you can get prepared before what we call kind of that peak inventory season before the spring,
Yes.
I want to start there. If you are thinking about buying in 2025, you got to reach out in January or February, because if you wait until April or May, you might have missed the boat on some really good inventory pops.
It tends to be a little more competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in April, May, that's when a lot of people are out starting to get things going.
Mm-hmm.
You might miss out on a few things. Plus, right now, I think there's a few deals to be had with the inventory that's out there. Because if it's still sitting there in December and January, you may have some negotiation room.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely advise people to get moving on that.
I think the last video we did, we mentioned that some of our recent contracts, there's been some seller concessions given to the
Closing
buyer.
help, record-breaking closing help.
And just the one, I
Yeah.
mean, just got an email about an hour ago. We were sitting here, and it's actually a house in Delaware. And if you think about that type of market, sometimes the winter is actually the busier
Yeah.
because they want to sell in the off season before the
Yeah.
rentals, the Airbnbs
Yep.
type stuff, or just the season where you
Yep.
can use your beach home. But again, huge seller concession in that contract after a price cut. Price on the house went down $15,000, kind of got my buyer interested, and then boom, submitted an offer with closing help, and it was accepted. So, to your point, getting prepared earlier is better because you might miss out on this season, and then if that passes you by, you don't want to wait too long because you can miss out on the spring season, which there's a little bit more inventory. So I think we've said this for years: the earlier, the better. There's nothing to wait for. There's nothing to wait for that consultation.
When people, because we're around the corner too from tax season, whether people like it or not too, like, what do you tell people? Like, hey, I'm filing my taxes March, April. Mm-hmm. How does that impact their pre-approval?
It's helpful for me when I look at. We talk about the 3 pillars: credit, income, assets.
Okay.
It's not just, hey, I'm going to get a $5,000 tax refund and I can use that for down payment. I mean, that's good too. But it could be a macro level. What can we use that money for? Do we need to throw it in the bank for closing costs? Do we need to contribute it to a down payment? Or do we just use it now as soon as you receive it to eliminate debt or pay off a credit card or something like that? Because if I can increase your cash flow monthly, it allows you a little bit more buying power or more comfortability when it comes to that mortgage payment. Because that's the biggest key right now with buyers is affordability is tough. Rates are high, higher than they have been historically. And then the sales price piece as well. So when you talk about a mortgage payment, sometimes people go, that's just a little bit daunting to me. But if we can eliminate this $300 a month payment, that increases your ability to make a mortgage payment by $300. So those are the types of strategies I use to say, let's use this cash to get a clean slate of debt.
What I would also say is if you're a 1099, before you file those taxes, just sit down with them. Just sit down with them, because there's been years past where I've had a lot of write-offs and it doesn't look as conducive to a lender or getting a loan. Then if I filed them differently. And so that plays a huge factor. If you're W-2, obviously your W-2 is what it is. Mm-hmm. If you're 1099, just sit down, because you might be surprised. You might have like this much in your bank account, but only this much on paper. And that changes what you can afford.
Yeah. I can't tell you how to file your taxes. I can tell you how it's viewed from your qualifications perspective, and then your CPA can do what they will do.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The other thing we're going to tell people is rates are not going anywhere anytime soon. Don't use that as your means of deciding, because it's going to be 5, 6, probably 6s for a long time.
When rates started to go up, there's a lot of people that said, let's wait until they go down. Well, those people are still on the sidelines, and there's no end in sight. At first it was the election and some other things, and it's just they've stayed very, very consistent in that sort of mid-6 range for a while. We've had some peaks and valleys where they've gone maybe down into the high 5s, up into the high 6s, but relatively speaking, we've kind of it's been stubborn.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you're waiting for, you're going to be waiting a long time, because or it's just maybe you're not waiting a long time. You just don't know when to time it. Timing the market is almost impossible.
Yeah. But I mean, if they're in a scenario where like they've talked to you and they've already been kind of a pre-approved, and some of the rates take a dive down or whatnot, you can at least alert them. I don't make that a catalyst like, it's 5.9, I need to buy a house right now. Don't do that. But I mean, like, hey, by the way, rates went down a little bit, just so you know. I might influence you, like your affordability a little bit, or bring your payment down a little bit. But make sure you buy the house that works for you. Don't buy it just because of the rates. You got to be careful. But he can tell you if you've been pre-approved or not.
So when you come in, I get you pre-approved, and I say you're pre-approved for $450 at a 6.5% interest rate. Then rates go to 6.25, and you send me that listing, and I run numbers and say, here's the payment, and then rates go back to 6.75.
Yeah.
It's basically as often as you're looking at homes and interested in homes, and you're sending me the address for me to run numbers. It's almost like a wake up call to what's the market doing, where are rates. As often as you need that stuff run, it's part of our job to just send you an estimate each and every time. So the more often you're communicating with me, the more in tune you are with the market. And don't be bashful about it.
And then any questions and so forth too, you're always there for helping. So
sure.
Our quick summary on our end, this was a rough-ish year for buyers. We saw most of the time that statistically there was older buyers this year. First-time buyers were around 24%. Mm-hmm. So it was amongst the lowest. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you just got to plan and be ready. and do the things you're supposed to be doing, because families are going to need bigger houses and families are going to need things. Just make sure you're prepared, you're ready. Before you file your taxes, if you're 1099, make sure you circle back.
Mhm.
Don't let rates make your decision. It's not going to help you.
No.
And then be prepared, because the spring market's probably going to pick up a little bit. Usually it does. And so you want to have at least something ready, and you have yourself prepared.
You and I both know Travis Mister. He was my high school baseball coach. He had a line that used to say, when he was Mr. He had a line, and it was control what you can control. When things would go haywire, maybe I'm on the mound and I'm getting roughed up, it's control what you can control. You can't dwell on what just happened. So kind of assimilating that to our business, the one thing you can't control is where rates go. You can't control where the market goes and when a house goes on the market, the type of home, when it actually hits the market. What you can control is being ready for that moment, and knowing the dynamics of rates will do what they do. If you get in your house, you purchase it, you're living the lifestyle that you want and you've always wanted, and then rates fall, you have the opportunity to then lower your interest rate and your payment. If you wait for rates to fall to buy that house,
you're waiting for who knows how long.
Correct. You have no idea when that's going to happen, and there might be a little bit more competition at that point. So again, control what you can control, which is, I want to buy a house. Let me just do what I need to do to make it happen.
There you go. So there you go. That's your summary. Hopefully it was pretty helpful. It was a rougher year in general, but I think we all did pretty well. We did the best we could.
Yeah.
I think next year is going to be a little bit better, but we'll go over that in January and tell you why we think that.
Mm-hmm.
And then be ready. Just be prepared. Have your stuff ready. Have your ducks in a row. Control what you can control.
And, the optimism in that sentiment, kind of similar to Mele Kalikimaka, where it's cold, it's Christmas time, but we're thinking about sunny days. Yeah. We're thinking about Hawaiian beaches and things.
Well, it wasn't like a terrible year. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like 2008 where the market crashed. It was just, it took more, a little more grinding.
When you say it was a rough year, I kind of think that's a relative term. You kind of have to throw 2020 and 2021 out of it.
Yeah.
Half of 22 was good. It was, to me, 2023 and 2024 were very similar.
Yeah,
so we're 24 months into this very sort of challenging market, but what we've done is gotten good at navigating it.
Yeah,
we kind of know the dynamics of it, and we also know that we can't just assume it's going to change anytime soon.
No, it's going to be this way. We're just doing a better job of educating, teaching, getting people prepared, and getting yourself lined up. It's all about managing your finances and making sure everything's where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, buying a house is funny. As I always joke about the statistic that they say homeowners have better financial stability and better credit than people that are renters. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's the house itself. It's the type of person, because the type of person is getting prepared. They're taking their finances seriously.
Yeah.
It's got really nothing. The outlier, the lag indicator is the house, buying versus renting. It's the person.
Well, we've said time and time again, there's bona fide reasons to rent, 100%. Yeah. There are scenarios where it just makes better sense to rent. But in a market like ours, and I saw this statistic the other day, in Calvert County, for eligible aged individuals, 12.8% of people rent.
That's a pretty good number.
That's a small number.
Yeah.
Nationwide, it's like 40%. But of course, that includes big cities like New York City and Chicago and stuff, where it's a lot more rentals. But when you compare it to the national average of 40, and we're 12.8, it also tells you that there's just not a lot to rent out there.
That's part of it, for sure.
But it also lends itself to the stability of our housing market here in Southern Maryland. So when you talk about good places to put your money, a mortgage, a house, and home equity is definitely a place to put it.
Yeah, and so that reinforces the idea. Like, it's the person, it's the planner.
Yes. That
really leads that misleading statistic.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
absolutely.
So be a planner, and then have a wonderful Christmas. Have a good time. Spend some time with family, friends. Enjoy yourself. Open the gifts. Do all the fun things.
December 21st, Mully's.
Mully's, yes. We have our Christmas party. Be on the lookout for your invite.
Yeah.
And if you're not invited, you haven't worked with us enough, but we'll fix that next year.
Yeah.
You can be invited next year. It's fine.
That's right. Absolutely.
Perfect.
It's always fun. We'll have a couple beers and some food and hang out.
It's relaxing.
So we hope to see you there.
Awesome. Hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas.
Thank you. You too.
And we'll see you in January, where we'll go over a super optimistic. I almost said pessimistic. You got that in my head. An optimistic year for January, because I think it's going to start being on an uptick. Mm-hmm. And I think everything's going to, not like, but it's going to get better. It's going to slowly, gradually get up and get better.
Absolutely.
I think people are preparing. I think people are getting ready. And I think we'll make some great decisions and really help some people out next year.
And it's the return of the dad joke in January.
Yes. I do like the Christmas.
I love
If
it.
we had the same exact one, which is really creepy.
I mean, it's just we've been doing these videos long enough. I think we're becoming the same person.
You need to get a lot more gray for that. All right, you have a wonderful Christmas, and we'll see you in January.
Happy holidays.